Instruction 7. We're in the middle of our development on rhythm. Last class we looked at the elementary rhythm, which is a relation between a cell which shows the relation between a lift and a fall. Here in this next level up, we're going to be joining up these individual cells, take two cells, join them up, and thereby produce a composite pulse. So basically what we have to do in this class is first of all work towards a definition of what we're talking about with the composite pulse, so we know what we're talking about. Then we have to show how that is expressed by means of loops and curves. Then we have to talk about counting, which we've already practiced and talked about before. And finally, we've got to show you how to do the metric gesture, which is the expression of the composite pulse and also a little bit of the elementary rhythm in a bodily gesture. So 4 parts to this lesson. We have the elementary rhythm, consists in a lift and a fall, and we want to join them up and form a composite pulse. By that we see that the main aim of rhythm, which is unification. We're going gradually from the ground all the way up to that total unity, which makes one piece, gradually through the intermediary stages. And so we have a kind of a complete construction aimed at making one thing out of the piece. Now, last class, we elaborated how the elementary rhythm was constructed. So you have 2 primary pulses, a measure bar between them, this making the downbeat. And then we have a relation between a lift and a fall. That is the pattern for the binary elementary rhythm. There's also a ternary, possible to make it out of a ternary. You have 1 lift and 2 on the fall. The measure bar, making that the ictus, the fall. Lift, fall. Now, I want to call your attention to the curves here. Though I'm not making myself the most accomplished artist, nevertheless, we have to pay attention to making our curves as graceful and beautiful as possible. I'm told that in the old days of the Middle Ages, the artists used to practice their drawing so that they could make their curves all in one continuous movement without having to halt all the time. You see, you want to avoid kinks or anything awkward. It's got to be as continuous as possible, and it's got to express well the relation of lift to fall. Here, I would say that this could have a little bit more of a belly to it. So if I were to give it another try, like that. So over here we have the ternary. And we can call this, as we learned last time, the equal elementary rhythm, and this the unequal. Why is this unequal? Because there's 1 beat on the lift and 2 beats on the fall. This then is the standpoint of the elementary rhythm, which basically is the upbeat starting on the up pulse and coming down to the down pulse. which ends on the 1, 2, 1. Whereas for the composite pulse, the composite pulse starts on the 1 and ends on the 2. Now, how, between that standpoint of the elementary rhythm, which begins with the lift and ends with the fall, and the composite pulse, which begins with the fall and ends on the rest, in other words, the first one counts 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, and the composite pulse 1, 2, 1, 2. What is the difference? In our discussion of this difference, we have to keep an eye on the ictus, which is the key to the whole problem. The key to elucidate the difference between elementary rhythm and the composite pulse. Let's go back to our day and night oscillation. Day, night, day, night, day, night. Day, night. We saw that there's a regular alternation, which the day fall decreases into the night. Day, night, day, night. And that's a natural way of perceiving things. However, there is another legitimate way of seeing things from another point of view. Take the one who has to do his accounts for his shop. He counts the civil day, the amount of transactions that his shop did in the day, from midnight of one day to midnight the next day. And that goes from ictus, or night to night. This here is your civil day. So what I'm pointing out is that the natural alternation from day to night, day to night, day to night, can also be considered from another point of view, from the point of view of the accountant, who considers a civil day starting at midnight and ending at midnight. And that makes a civil day. The first consideration takes that in. The second consideration takes that in. We're going to see how that changes the aspect of what we get by this different way of separating out the units. Let's go to the manual now. Turning to the beginning then of lesson 7, page 115, we have that same drawing, the alternation from day to night, first of all on the upper part, and then on the bottom, the division of subsequent days from midnight to midnight, making the civil day. And that leads on to a definition which we pose right away of the composite pulse. The composite pulse is the interval of time elapsed from one rhythmic ictus to another. Okay, let me just first point out that the composite pulse is an interval of time. How did we define the rhythm? Rhythm is a relation. The composite pulse is an interval of time, quantity. Interval of time elapsed from one ictus to the next. And so underneath we have, first of all, the elementary rhythmic standpoint represented. You have the relation of lift to fall, falling on the ictus, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. But then drawing in what would be the measure bars in modern music, That is, the measure bar always goes before the downbeat. So 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. That gives us what the division that we're looking for here, the composite pulse. The time elapsed from one rhythmic ictus to another. You see, between the bars are contained that much time from one ictus to the next. That's the representation for binary rhythm. For ternary rhythm, it's analogous. For the elementary rhythm, you have 1 beat on the rise and 2 beats on the fall. 1 beat on the rise and 2 beats on the fall. 1 beat on the rise and 2 beats on the fall. Drawing in the measure bars, and again pointing out that measure bars really don't belong to Gregorian chant, but we're doing this simply to facilitate the exposition, to show how the division, where the division lies. The division, that is, that divides up the time that makes the composite pulse. So division here, division here, division here, just before each ictus, making a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And in both cases, notice that the binary and the ternary elementary rhythm are astride the measure bar. Conversely, in order to make one composite pulse, you need to take part of the previous elementary rhythm and join up the first beat of the subsequent elementary rhythm. So therefore, in order to make a composite pulse, you have to take 2 elementary rhythms and join them up in order to have enough to make a composite pulse. Now, we have to have 2 elementary rhythms then to make one composite pulse. Let's see how that works out on the board. Let's just limit ourselves to the binary situation. One binary elementary rhythm, up, down. Now, the measure bar goes here. That, taking another measure bar, that doesn't give enough to make a composite rhythm. What you need is another composite pulse. Let's put it here. That should be continuous. And there you have 1, 2, 1. 2, 1, 2, 1. And there you have between the measure bars what you need to make a composite pulse. Therefore, 2 elementary rhythms are necessary to combine in order to make a composite pulse. Next thing we want to see is that the downbeat of the composite pulse is not a strong beat. Instead of being an alternation of strong and weak, it's rather a curve. Now the curve actually will come down here. Let's take red. It's actually a fall, lift, fall, lift, fall. And the ictus is not necessarily strong. It can be strong, but what's more closer to the truth is that it's a fall in the pulsation. A pulsation always involves a lift and a fall. It's that fall part that marks the downbeat. Last corollary to this definition is that the composite pulse corresponds roughly to the neum. Let's take a look at that. Let me draw a neum on the board. What neum is that? You remember? That's a torculus. Huh? Now we apply the third rule for finding the ictus, which is the beginning of a neum. Huh? Ictus there. You count 1, 2, 3. You see, the neum basically corresponds to the composite pulse in virtue of the third rule of the rhythmic ictus. The manual shows us further how that works. On page 117, you have the composite, 3 composite pulses, which do not form a neum. They're 3 separate notes. But here you have a neum. It's another torculus. 1, 2, 3. The next thing we have to do is ask ourselves, how are we going to represent that composite pulse in terms of loops and curves? We've already used the example of the bouncing ball, like that. That's basically the idea. The manual just modifies it a little bit. Let's look and see. You see, you have basically a bouncing ball that goes up, and it's just that the curve here, instead of coming down and bouncing back right, it makes a loop around the note and around each downbeat. There we go. And likewise for the ternary group. Now, that loop shows you that there's a kind of renewal of the energy, just like in the bouncing ball. Huh? You have the first movement comes to a rest, and the second movement begins an élan. Rest and élan. Rest and élan. And thus you have the propagation of a continuous movement. Whereas the elementary rhythm is kind of a cut up unit of the basic unit of rhythm. Here, what's characteristic of the composite pulse is that it's a continuous flow. Huh? It's of up and down, up and down, up and down, a loop like you see here. And so we go on to counting. Counting involves, as we have seen, the numbering of the notes in the music that you see printed on the page. But it also involves a hand gesture, a bodily gesture, which represents that exteriorly. The idea behind this bodily gesture is that the larger muscles especially help us to feel the pulsation and the movement of up and down, which, when they're felt in the body, are more easily translated into the voice in song. So in that way, we're going to be learning right away a bodily gesture called the rhythmic gesture, corresponding to the binary rhythm and the ternary rhythm. Let's look at that now. This metrical gesture has to be learned with a certain care, therefore, in order that we're able to really feel the movement in our and the rhythm in our body. Huh? So it's going to look basically for and with the ternary, it's going to have to be it's going to have to be a little bit more elaborate. 3, 1, 2, 3, or as in the book, 1, 2, 3. A little bit like the conducting gesture for 3/4 time in modern music. Let's look at the manual. So on page 118, in the middle there, you have the basic movement up and down for binary, And then for ternary, down, over, up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now these gestures can be made with both hands or just with one hand. We're going to first learn how to do the gestures with both hands and then with one hand. The manual gives you diagrams showing you the basic movements. First of all, we go through on page 119 the position at rest. Hands straight out in front of you, not stiff, but not limp either, but relaxed. And arms straight out in front of you, body straight. Then the up position has the arms remaining supple, but lifted up above the head, with the wrists allowing themselves to pivot. Here we have the rhythmic. On page 120, you have the rhythmic binary rhythmic gesture. Look from face view. First of all, the position at rest. He comes up with his hands above the head, and then raises them down. That's to come back to the same position as before. Gently, lower the arms gently, and the hands as if touch down on imaginary ledge at the level of the breast. Ternary gesture, same starting position. The hands go out, then go up, and then return to the original position. So let's look at that in terms of how that's done in real life and not just in the book. From face, you have your hands in front of you, thrust upwards. The wrists allow themselves to bend. Well, the hands follow the movement. They don't thrust up like this. No, they're left hanging. And a gentle return to the original position, which is about the level of the breast. You don't want to allow your hands to fall down toward the lower than that. You want to stop here. It goes from this position up to that position, and you can also thrust up with your legs, to increase the sensation of the upward movement. Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Should we try that together? Up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. From the side, hands straightly in front of you. Up, down, up, down. Thrust, fall, thrust, fall. See? With the ternary gesture, you always begin at the same position. That's 1, down, 2 is out, 3 is up. 1, 2, 3. Notice the way the wrists give. If I were to keep the wrists blocked, they would be up like this. No, they let go. It's kind of parachuted up here, and gently fall down. Make sure that number 2 is not skimped. It doesn't make a short-sided triangle. You want to make this as much as this. 1, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Should we do that together? Hands out in front of you. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. From the side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. There we go. And that's the full gesture, which gives the whole body and the big muscles of the body a kind of sensation of the rhythm, in the hope that feeling it in the larger muscles, you're able to bring that out easier from an intimate sensation, knowledge of what rhythm is, from feeling it in your body, bring that out in the way you chant. We should also do this exercise with one hand. So the binary rhythm, just one hand, up, down, 2, 1, 2, 1. From the side, the hand straight out, level of the breast, up, down, up, down, up, down. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Make sure also with this gesture that there's a little bit of the elementary rhythm that carries through. It's not a simple question of regularity, perfect regularity. You also should bring out the sensation of the lift and the fall, and the relation of the lift to the fall. That naturally when you jump, you always come down. Up, down, up, down, up, down. There should be a little concern there for the elementary rhythm. Now, I'd like you to try and do that with me. You pretend you're in the mirror, and you just follow my gesture. So your right hand, I'm presuming you're right-handed. Right hand straight out, up, down, up, down. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. Okay. Now the ternary gesture. The ternary gesture, one hand. I'll do it first of all with my right hand. 1, beginning position. 2, out here. 3. So it's half the two-handed gesture. 1, 2, 3. Down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down. See, you can even express that relation of the lift to the fall. Up, down, over, up, down. From the side, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down. Now, you do it with me. Right hand out, I'm presuming again that you're right-handed. All you do is pretend you're looking in the mirror and follow my gesture. So, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over, up, down, over. You're going to have to practice those gestures, and we'll be giving you practice on that with the exercises. They have to become habitual, and they have to ideally become graceful. This is important, again, to bring that same kind of pulsation, that same kind of relations that are expressed in the bodily movement into the chant. One last remark about those bodily gestures. You have the full two-handed bodily gesture, but if you are to use that for the exercises when they say to use the rhythmic gesture with the counting, then you're going to have to have your book here while you do, and your hands are going to be in the way of the book to do the exercises. It's much easier if, suppose you were right-handed, you hold the book and you reduce the gesture to one hand. I'm looking at the book here. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, etc. You see, it's much more possible, much less awkward. And looking ahead, when you're tested, I will presume, or your examiner will presume, that you'll want to hold your book with one hand and then do the rhythmic gesture with the other hand. It's much more easy and possible to do. Let's go to the book now and take a look at the exercises and homework assignment. On page 122, you have the exercises, and everything is familiar except perhaps number 4. Rhythm the piece, that is, make the rhythmic gesture while singing the notes. We've just shown you how that's done. Let's give a concrete example. So I take Kyrie 11, which we've already looked at. Here it is. We've marked in the ictus, and now we're able to count. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So again, we're asked to rhythm the piece, that is, make the rhythmic gesture while singing the notes. Demonstration. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. From the side. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. You can do this with me with your right hand if you're right-handed. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. So there you go. You have to do that for the whole piece. There's not only the Kyrie, the first invocation, but the second invocation, the third invocation, and the very last invocation. Likewise, the homework assignment is the same as usual. The only new thing is that you have to draw the composite pulse curves above the decomposed melody. Let's take a look at that in the manual. On page 123, then we have the melody decomposed into simple notes with the ictus marked each time. Then above, the elementary rhythms traced, the curves traced, the lift leading into the fall, and then the composite pulse, the curves looping down and reaching their lowest point at the ictus. Now, here's the key to doing this right and perfectly. You want to make the ictus, the lowest point, and each of the levels correspond. That is, if you were to draw a vertical line through the ictus, like that, you see that the line passes through this ictus, and the very lowest point of your composite pulse curve. And so on. It's a little bit of a challenge. You might have to use your eraser, but you'll get it. You'll get it. Also, watch out for the gracefulness of these curves. Give yourself enough height. Don't flatten them out too much. Make sure they're really nice curves here, which corresponds to what a bouncing ball does. It makes a very nice curve. It doesn't. There's no angles in the trajectory of a bouncing ball. There we go for the composite pulse. We've done the intermediary level then, elementary rhythm, then the composite pulse, which links together, corresponds to the counting. It links together groups of 2s and 3s. But there's one more level to go, which takes these groups of 2s and 3s and links them together by means of rhythm. That is, it is composite rhythm. Composite, like composite pulse, but rhythm. That is, it takes a binary group and a ternary group, say, and it links them by a rhythmic curve. That's what you can expect next time, and that really gets us into the music. The composite rhythm is the level of the grand rhythm, the whole shape of the piece. It's also the level characteristic of the chironomy, the direction, the movement of direction, which shows the singers of the schola what to do in the development of the melody. So that there we're moving on next time to the culmination of this rhythmic development, the composite rhythm. We'll see that next time.